Hi everyone, Dan McCalla here. Welcome to the final round of the Simply Race Alpine Cup on British Championship Finals Day here at Simply Race. I'm going to very quickly run you down the grid because it's going to be quite a very quick start to this 13-lap race around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit because we're not going to be having a formation lap. Martin Buchan in car 666, the devil is back. He's on pole position, the only man in the 1 minute 30s. In qualifying. Adam Christopher joins him on the front row, and it is possible that he could seal the championship in this race. We'll bring you up to date with the points permutations a little bit later on. Newcomer Aidan Carter and Ben Bennyworth, the only man who can stop Adam Christopher in the championship on row 2. John Dean Smith and Dan Hyde on row 3. Steve Burton, Aaron Daly on row 4. And then Anthony Burton, Guy Osborne, Max Spooner, Pierre Delby and Ed Feast rounding out a 13-car grid for a 13-lap race. We're just about to get things underway. You can see the car with the Scottish Saltire on the top of Martin Buchan on pole position, the white, blue and silver car of Adam Christopher alongside him on the front row, and to get ready to get things underway. And away we go. Not a bad start at all from Adam Christopher. He's going to try and come round the outside of Martin Buchan. They head up to Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. I think he's going to play the percentage because he knows he needs the points. He's gone a bit wide though. It will be Buchan leads, then Christopher, then it'll be Carter. Bennyworth can have a look move into third place when he gets the inside. He needs to get ahead. He's not quite going to make it as they come through Druids. Buchan, Christopher, then Carter, then Bennyworth, then John Dean Smith. That looks like the number 2 car of Dan Hyde that's slotted into 6th place. Graham Hill Bend, onto bottom straight and up towards Surtees. Officially, just give over the points permutations, Adam Christopher has a 4-point lead, but Ben Bennyworth has 19 points to drop. If Adam Christopher, as long as Adam Christopher doesn't lose at least 3 points to Ben Bennyworth in this race, he will be the Alpine Cup champion. So he knows with Ben Bennyworth behind him, he is champion as it stands. Max Spooner, Dan Hyde, Guy Osborne and John Dean Smith are all in contention for third place in the championship, and certainly particularly race 2. Focus on how that battle progresses. They come towards Westfield, they'll come down the hill through Dingledale, John Dean Smith in P5, pulling away from Dan Hyde. Machine curve, and up towards Stirling's. Beautiful Brands Hatch. One of the favourite drivers. Mistake from Bennyworth, really pushing hard. If it comes out of Stirling, that might give John Dean Smith a chance to get a run down the pit straight, maybe have to move into Paddock. Bennyworth having to go very defensive. John Dean's going to take the tighter line through clearway, so they come to complete black one. Buchan, Christopher, Carter, then Bennyworth, Dean Smith, Hyde, Guy Osborne there, then a bit of a gap back to Anthony Burton, and then Spooner and Delby rounding out the top 10. Oh, John Dean Smith's off, and Dan Hyde's followed him. They've both gone wide there. I don't think they make it in this position because I don't think Osborne will take advantage. But Dan Hyde managed to recover quicker and has managed to get the inside of Druids. So John Dean Smith, the big loser there. Dan Hyde moves up into 5th place and John Dean Smith back into 6th. And that could have implications as far as the battle for third place in the championship is concerned. Those two and Giles, all the 3 that you see there on your screen, all trying to chase down Max Spooner, who's currently 3rd in the points, but has to drop some points himself. Back onto the lead for the second time out of 13. Leading Adam Christopher by 7/10 of a second, and then in turn are a 1.5 seconds clear of Aidan Carter. Adam Christopher will be very happy to sit exactly where he is, but he thinks he will clinch the championship with a race to spare. To Sterling to get the second time, still watching Hyde. He's going to try to cover that place in the top 5. Sport Vision Centre when it comes to lap 2. John Dean Smith had a very, very good run and he might try and line something over the Paddock Druids. Complete lap 2, Buchan, Christopher, Carter and Benny have made the top 4. This is the battle for 5th. Hyde over Dean Smith. Hyde goes defensive. Dean Smith will try and take the tighter line in the later apex, I should say. Quite pulling in time to be able to run up the hill towards Druids. He tempted to go for a late one. Very different lines there. Hyde going much defensive. It's all a touring car line we kind of see going forward a lot earlier. And he manages to hold on to P5 for the time being. A few changes, I think of Aaron Daly and Max Spooner have both dropped down the order. They're down to 11th and 12th. Anthony Burton, Pierre Delby and Ed Feast are rounding out the top 10 at the moment behind this battle that you're watching with Hyde and Dean Smith and Guy Osborne just behind them. So pretty much line astern and in these early stages. Not too much to trouble the scorers at this point. Buchan, Christopher, the gap between now 1.3 seconds. I don't think Adam Christopher has any interest in trying to push too hard to chase down Martin Buchan, so things fairly settled at the front, and this is certainly the battle to be watching at the moment among the leaders. Let's have a bit look further back. This is Anthony Burton. He's got the improving Pierre Delby just behind him. They are 8th and 9th. You might just get a glimpse of Ed Feast behind them in P10. There they are, and then just behind them, the recovering Aaron Daly is in 11th spot. Uncharacteristically low position for Aaron. Of course, he had that win in the reverse grid race in race 2 at Croft back in December. And he's hoping to overhaul Anthony Burton actually and try and take 7th place in the championship. Burton is 4 points ahead of Aaron Daly at the moment, so there's a little bit of a battle to look forward to there in the points. As they complete lap number 3 out of 13. Buchan leads Adam Christopher by 1.4 seconds. Then Carter, Bennyworth, Hyde, Dean Smith, then Osborne, and then we see here Burton, Delby, and Aaron Daly ahead of Ed Feast now. Back on the recovery charge, and Aaron Daly's back into the top 10 ahead of Ed Feast there in car number 19. Back to the Hyde and Dean Smith battle then has come onto the GP loop on lap number 4. Looks like JDS has had a better run out of Surtees, but he has to go to the outside. He's going to find it very difficult to pass around the outside around Hawthorne. Down Hyde leaves him just enough room, but his line through Hawthorne going to be compromised. Look how much extra speed John Dean Smith's able to take. We're able to go on board with him here. It's almost a little bit on the grass. There's a bit of contact. And John Dean Smith's going to go off there. We didn't quite have the shot to see whether or not he had enough room. Hopefully we'll get to have a look back at that a little bit later on, but it has allowed Guy Osborne to move ahead into 6th place. John D. Smith go back to 7th, and now Guy Osborne's had a moment of his own. He takes out the advertising hoarding, but he's going to get back on, and he manages not to lose a place. Dan Hyde's off onto the grass as well on the exit of Sterling, and it's all action in the midfield as we come towards the end of lap 4. Guy Osborne wasn't with us at Knockhill. It's good to see him back. A difficult round at Croft as well, but we know how fast he can be on his day, and he's still very much in the hunt for that 3rd spot in the championship. Max Spooner, once his dropped score is taken into account, is 1 point ahead of Dan Hyde, 6 ahead of Guy Osborne, and 11 ahead of John Dean Smith. And with Max down in 12th place at the moment, there is plenty of scope here for those other drivers to get involved. I think as it stands, I think it would be Dan Hyde who'd be 3rd in the championship. We're looking at Aaron Daly, who's back behind, just coming up on Pierre Delby, and Pierre's gone wide. There's been a spin there. Osborne spun. Osborne's had a spin there, and he's fallen right back down the field. He's lost at least 2 places. Real shame that for Guy. And that has allowed Aaron Daly back up into, he'll be in 8th place now. Yeah, Anthony Burton will be up to 7th. John D. Smith will retake 6th. One thing I will say about both Guy Osborne and Aaron Daly, very, very quick, sometimes maybe a little bit inconsistent, struggling to hook it up over a full race distance. But as certainly as Aaron Daly demonstrated at Croft, if he can hook it up over a full race distance and keep that consistency, he can get really, really good results, and he thoroughly deserved that race when he got in the reverse grid race. Having a look at the replay here, so this is the Hyde and Dean Smith move. I was going to have a look at this and see if they had enough room. A little bit of contact, and Dean Smith just not having the grip with the left-hand tyres on the grass coming up to Westfield. Tricky one, that one, I think, for the stewards to judge. So we're on to lap 6. Martin Buchan comfortably in the lead, 1.3 seconds. The lap times are in the mid-31, so a good solid pace to be fair. It's not like they've eased off too much. Adam Christopher, Aidan Carter, then Ben Bennyworth, then Dan Hyde, John Dean Smith, then Anthony Burton, who's at the head of it of the train at the moment. Burton, Daly, Delby and Osborne. We're looking at the back of that group there, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. And I think that's where the closest action is on the track. A little bit further back then we have Ed Feast, who's just ahead of Max Spooner, and then Steve Burton's bringing up the rear. There is 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. I could just see a little bit of a wheel on the grass from Ed Feast in the background as they came out of Graham Hill Bend. Looking at the picture-in-picture here, and that's Guy Osborne. Oh, he's just taking too much corner speed through Graham Hill Bend. Actually, quite a big hit on the barriers there, just by the ambulance gate at the back of the pits. And he's just rejoined the track, and it was good foresight there by Pierre Delby and Aaron Daly, who are having a fight of their own to judge the spinning Osborne ahead of them. So good work there not to make the accident bigger than it needed to be. And that's Osborne off again. Osborne's gone off again coming out of Sheen Curve, so just maybe losing his composure a little bit, and he's unfortunately falling back down the field, and this is really going to harm his hopes of finishing 3rd, 4th, even 5th in the championship. Well, he's come back on, he's had a bit of contact with Matt Spoon as he rejoins, and turning into a very difficult afternoon for Osborne. They're now fighting for, what, 11th place, a little bit of contact as they come through clear ways to complete lap 6. Well, hopefully we'll find out what happened to Max Spooner in race 1, because he's not normally this far down the field. I'm wondering if him and his stablemate Aaron Daly with the same coloured cars maybe had a little bit of an incident early on. I'm sure we'll find out before race 2 happens. So, we're halfway through the race. Buchan, Christopher, Carter, Bennyworth, Hyde, Dean Smith, Burton, Daly, Delby and Feast is your top 10. Bennyworth has closed up to the back of Aidan Carter a little bit. Osborne wide again. Oh, we've gone very, very defensive there. Really a bit of a chop on Max Spooner. Spooner's car a little bit unsettled. Back a few surtees onto the GP loop once again. They're both in turn catching up to Ed Feast, who's in 10th place. Also wondering if John Dean Smith, looking at the timing screen, might be sizing up Dan Hyde once again to try and get that 5th place back. There's only half a second between them now. JDS quicker in both sectors 1 and 2. They have to have a good at them now as they come back towards the clear way to complete lap 7. There'll be 6 laps to go at the end of this. Differing lines once again. That's one of the great things about racing at Brands Hatch, that you get to see people trying to line up moves 1, 2, 3 corners in advance because of the way that this track's so flowing. There's so much corners being involved in every corner, really. I was going to say except Druids, probably even Druids. Down high still just enough ahead. Takes that very different line, turns in a lot earlier to Druid than JDS does. Back down the hill, and another off for Guy Osborne, unfortunately. Ah, there's a replay, and that's what happened in the picture-in-picture, and that's what happened to Max Spooner just coming around the corner. And at full speed on the racing line, there probably wasn't a great deal that he could do about it. So this is the battle for 5th place. We're on lap 8. We've already had one coming together at Westfield. I don't know if John Dean Smith going to try it again. There's not that much of a braking zone at Westfield. It's not a corner. You can really make a move. I think Dan's gone a little bit wide again. Going to lose a bit of corner speed through Sheen Curve. But again, this is not much of a braking zone at Stirling's to have a real dive up the inside unless you're right on someone's back bumper. So here's a replay of the Osborne. He's gone wide at Sheen Curve. He's trying to come back on. He's spun. He's hit the barriers and come across. And yeah, it's just, obviously, Max Spoon is committed to the racing line. He's going at normal racing speed, and he just happens to have had a collision as they come through. I think very much want to be categorised under these things happen in that case. So we're into the last 5 laps. Buchan leads by 1.6 seconds. Adam Christopher 5 laps away now from clinching the championship. Then Carter, Bennyworth. This is the closest battle high up through the field. Hyde and Dean Smith. Then 11 seconds behind. Aaron Daly's now worked his way back into 7th. Ahead of Anthony Burton and Pierre Delby. And then it's Feast, Osborne, Spooner. Those 3 together in 10th, 11th and 12th. And Steve Burton bringing up the rear. Back onto bottom straight towards 13th for the 9th time. This battle is important in the context of the fight for 3rd in the championship. If these two be 3rd and 4th in the championship at the moment, Hyde is 5 points of John Dean Smith. There's a potential, 2-point swing if JDS can get past. He's going to be forced wide as they come up towards Hawthorns again. Picture in picture there, that's the battle between, I think Osborne trying to cover against Ed Feast. We'll keep on the back for 10th place. But John Dean Smith is right behind Dan Hyde here. I think his best hope is probably going to be to try and force an error. Down the hill, through Dingledale, back up, through Sheen Curve. There, that could be the error. That could be the error. Dan Hyde really struggling for traction there. Tyre degradation may be higher than it might look here, and it is understeer does become a bigger and bigger problem with these cars as the race goes on. As they head toward clear race once again. The top 4 order looks fairly settled. Buchan, Christopher Carter, and Bennyworth. Don't forget, full reverse grid in race 2, so I think we're going to get some action if we get to the finale, especially as it looks at the moment that the championship is going to be settled. Is John Dees going to go at Paddock? He's had a big look. Can he force the mistake and force hard to go wide? No, JDS has done very well, actually, to take the apex there as they come back up the hill on lap 10. Dan hides that early, that very touring car, Tom Ingram-esque line, making it very difficult for anyone to try and land up the inside of what is clearly Brands Hatch's best potential overtaking point. See the picture-in-picture there, that's the Feast Osborne-Spooner battle, 10th, 11th and 12th line astern. We'll keep you up to date if there's any changes there. But look at John Dees. I'll put 2 wheels on the grass, desperate to try and just get every mile an hour as he can as they go under the bridge, back up towards Hawthorne. With a fast right, 4th gear, then back onto the Derek Minter straight. We go on board with John Dean Smith now with 3.5 laps to go. Not enough room at Westfield. Throw it in. Really taking a lot of curb there is JDS. Battle now for 10th between Osborne and Spooner going on. Bit of weaving there by Osborne. I can just see it on one of my other cameras there. I think we've lost Ed Feast. I think he's made a mistake because he's dropped back behind those two, down to P12. We're watching the battle for 5th place. It's certainly the strongest battle on the track at the moment. We've got 3 laps to go as they come to the line. Ben Bennyworth is closing up on our newcomer Aidan Carter, so we might have a little bit of a battle developing the 3rd place towards the end of the race. But the championship, unless he does anything really dumb, is going to be Adam Christophers with a race to spare. On to lap 11 out of 13. Oh, huge slide. I think maybe Dan Hyde braked a little bit earlier than JDS expected. Couldn't quite get it stopped. Hopefully hasn't locked up the tyres too much, and they'll be able to come back and give us a bit of a fight to enjoy in the last couple of laps of this race. The order remains Buchan, Christopher, Carter, Bennyworth, Hyde, Dean Smith, Daly, Burton, Delby, but good result for Pierre Delby, that in 9th place, and Guy Osborne in 10th place, still just holding off Max Spooner. So this would give Dan Hyde a 6-point advantage over John Dean Smith in the race for 3rd in the chance to go into that final round. It'd be 4 if JDS can get past. We are going back to have a look. This looks like, is that Anthony Burton past Aaron Daly? It is. Good run this for Anthony Burton. He got back past Aaron Daly, and this is for 7th place. And Anthony Burton has driven a good consistent race. These two are fighting between each other for 7th in the championship, funnily enough. It's currently 4 points in Burton's favour. So in the context of a championship position, this is actually quite an important battle with just over 2 laps to go. Oh, Dan Hyde's gone wide. I'm going to give a battle for 5th. Here they come, and now John D. Smith, very traditional Brands Hatch move, gets onto the inside. I think he's going to be just ahead as they come across the line with 2 laps to go. More importantly, he's got the inside line going into Paddock Hill Bend. He's had to work very, very hard to get that move done over several laps, and it's paid off for him. And that's the 2-point swing in terms of the fight for 3rd in the championship. John Dean Smith back up into 5th place ahead of Dan Hyde. Go on to the penultimate lap of the race. Martin Buchan, the gap's come down to 8/10 of a second for Adam Christopher, just around the 1 second mark, but I think that's probably him managing the gap. Here is Adam Christopher, and we go on board with the man who is a lap and a half away from becoming the Simply Race Alpine Cup champion. And deservedly so. He's been on the pace at every round. Didn't race at Croft and probably avoided most of the chaos. That was one of the more eventful in terms of incident-packed events of the season just before Christmas. Bit of a lock-up from from Martin Buchan ahead, but I don't think Adam Christopher, he was talking to us about the points early. He knows the situation. He will not be taking any risks whatsoever as he comes through clearways to start the last lap. If an opportunity presents itself, we take it. When Martin Buchan's a very accomplished driver, it's unlikely that one's come his way, but you never know. Buchan leads Christopher as we start the 13th and final lap of race 1 at Brands Hatch. 3/4 of a second between them, and it will probably remain like that. Carter's still just ahead of Bennyworth. John D. Smith pulled well away from Dan Hyde. Anthony Burton still just ahead of Aaron Daly, and it's further spread out further back. Delby, Osborne, Spooner, Feast, and Steve Burton. So we'll stay with your leaders as we go on to the final lap. And it is getting very close now. There's less than half a second. I don't know if Martin Buchan maybe can have a bit of tyre wear. But this is getting very, very close. But Adam Christopher is surely not going to take any big risk. He'd be absolutely mad to as they go onto the GP loop for the final time. Lights on for Christopher. You see a bit further back, Ben Benny was right on the back of Aiden Carter, but I think he's going to have to admit defeat in terms of the championship battle. Down the Derek Minter straight to Westfield. Almost there for Martin Buchan in terms of the race. Almost there for Adam Christopher. Almost going onto the grass in terms of the championship. Through Sheen Curve. An accomplished race. He lights the flag when it looks like for Martin Buchan. Well deserved. As you expect for a driver of his stature. Pole position. He's going to come through and win the race. And it is Scotland on top. Through Clearways then, it's going to be race 1 of the season finale at Brands Hatch and the Simulator Alpine Cup goes to Martin Buchan, but with second place, Adam Christopher is your champion. Lights flashing. Buchan's race. Adam Christopher takes the title. Aiden Carter, great, gets a podium. It is on his debut. Just holds off Ben Benniworth for third. There's an Ovo Aaron Daly and Anthony Burton. I think they've had a bit of a coming together the last lap. Aaron Daly's managed to get through. That's for 7th place. We'll wait for everyone else to finish. John D. Smith's going to be 5th, Dan Hyde 6th, and it looks like Aaron Daly is going to nab that 7th spot, which helps him because it means it reduces his gap to 3 points. In his fight to try and overhaul him to 7th in the championship. There is Aaron Daly coming across the line in 7th place. Then it'll be Anthony Burton. And then it looks like it's going to be Pierre Delby, Guy Osborne, Max Spooner, Ed Feast and Steve Burton. Not maybe the most dramatic race we've seen in the Alpines. We've had some absolute barnstormers earlier on in the season. But it does set us up very nicely, particularly with the championship decided, for a very exciting reverse grid race 2. I think Max Spooner will be very much hoping he'll have good chances. We're having had a relatively poor finish by his standards in race 1, but it'll be high on the grid for that reverse grid. Race 1 goes to Martin Buchan, but congratulations to Adam Christopher, who is your Simply Race Alpine Cup champion with a race to spare. We'll be back with you very soon for race 2. Welcome back to Brands Hatch on the formation lap for the final round of the 2022-23 Simply Race Alpine Cup. My name's Dan McCalla, thank you very much for joining us again. Lots to get through here very quickly. It's a full reverse grid, so I'll just run through the grid for you. You've got Steve Burton and Ed Feast on the front row. Row 2, Max Spooner and Guy Osborne. Row 3, Pierre Delby and Anthony Burton. Row 4, Aaron Daly and Dan Hyde. Row 5, John Dean Smith and Ben Bennyworth. Row 6, Aidan Carter and our newly crowned champion Adam Christopher. And then our race 1 winner Martin Buchan starts at the back of the 13 car field. The 13-lap race. A few points permutations to run you through. So Adam Christopher and Ben Bennyworth are locked in now, first and second in the championship. Max Spooner and Dan Hyde are in a battle for third. Spooner is 10 points ahead of Dan Hyde with 20 points available for a win. However, because of his low finish in race 1, unless Max Spooner will have to finish on the podium here to add any more points to his total, otherwise this is going to be his drop round. Now he does have the advance starting third on the grid, and Dan Hyde's down in 8th. But if Hyde can work his way through here, because he doesn't have any points to drop, he could make that battle interesting. Another easier ones to follow, because there's no drop scores involved. Guy Osborne and John Dean Smith are currently tied on points for 5th place. So if JDS can work his way through, he can start in 5 places further back than Guy Osborne. He can potentially get himself a top 5 position, which would be a good effort as he missed the first 2 rounds. And also got the battle for 7th as well, so watch out in the midfield because Anthony Burton is 3 points ahead of Aaron Daly. They had a really good battle throughout all the latter stages of race 1, and there's potentially championship points and positions at stake there as well. Actually, I'll say that because they're on 94 and 91. As a result of his win, Martin Buchan is now on 87, so he could get involved in that battle for 7th place in the championship as well. So, the car's coming to the grid, this 14th and final race of the season that started all the way back at Donington Park in August. We've been to Brands Indy, Thruxton in the wet, which was a nightmare, I know, because I raced in it, it was horrible, Alton Park Croft and Knock Hill. And now we come to Brands GP. Steve Burton, Ed Feast and Max Spooner, who's hoping to get that third in the championship. They early started. You'd expect Max Spooner to probably set the early pace, but you never know in a reverse grid racing, and overtaking is difficult. The race is underway now. Ed Feast has basically stalled. He's going to get absolutely swamped. Absolute disaster for Feast is going to be Burton. Oh, there's a collision, and that was Osborne and Delby. Delby, I don't think he's been able to get it back on. I think he's spun. It's going to be Steve Burton, then Spooner, then Osborne, and I think Andy Burton followed by John Dean Smith has spun at paddock as well. Now Dan Hyde looked like he was involved because he's come through as well. So the two who were fighting out for 4th, 5th in the championship have also come to grief. So lots of action in the first couple of corners. It's Burton, then Spooner. We're looking at Ed Feast getting passed by Ben Bennyworth. There's action everywhere. You don't know where to look. It's Burton, Osborne, Spooner, then Anthony Burton, Daly, Bennyworth up to 6th. They're ahead of Ed Feast, you see on your camera. Adam Christopher and Martin Buchan at 8th and 9th. And it's those at the back who've obviously had incidents. Aidan Carter, Pierre Delby, Dan Hyde and John Dean Smith bringing up the rear. So we didn't get too much action in race 1. Race 2, as we hoped for with the reverse grid, more than making up for it. Dan Hyde dropping down the field, that makes a big impact in terms of third in the championship. He needs to get up into the top, I think top 6, to have any mathematical chance of getting that third place in the championship. He's now down in 12th and well behind, so I think he's going to struggle unless there are some incidents up ahead. We go on board with, I think that's Ben Bennyworth. Yeah, but he's just behind Aaron Daly, so we're looking at 6th, looking ahead to 5th. Daly's gone wide there. Can Bennyworth get the inside line? No, not quite. It's about car length and a half short. Daly's almost let him in there, and this is a chance for Ben Bennyworth to take 5th as they start lap 2. Will Bennyworth get the deal done? Yes, he will. And that looked like Adam Christopher coming past Ed Feast as well in the background. Just see him at the back of the shot. Yes, he has. So Adam Christopher from 12th has already made his way through up into 7th spot. So the order: Steve Burton, Osborne, Spooner, Anthony Burton, Bennyworth, Daly, Christopher, Feast, Carter, Buchan, Delby, Hyde and Dean Smith at the back in 13th spot. Adam Christopher did say just before race 2 started he intended to have some fun. Now with the championship settled, he was very much driving within himself in race 1, didn't want to take Martin Buchan on for the win, understandably. We're looking at a side-by-side, that is Guy Osborne and Max Spooner, that's 2nd and 3rd. Osborne giving just enough room, bit of contact again, there was contact between them in race 1 as well, if you remember when Osborne rejoined at Sterling's. And this might give an opportunity for Anthony Burton to join the fun. Almost a little bit of a trolley train emerging. He's allowing Steve Burton to get away. He's got a decent 2-second advantage now. Bennyworth trying to cut through. Can he get past Anthony Burton? It's Dingle Dell, that'd be brave. Into Sheen Curve, can't do it. Big amount of grass being taken. Osborne's gone off again. He's taking Spooner around. Anthony Burton's going to go off as well. Get spun around. There's carnage at Sterling's. Spooner gets spun around, and that's allowed. Ben Bennyworth and Chris Roberts to second and third. Anthony Burton's gone off. Daly's gone off. Osborne at least 4 cars off, and absolute chaos. It's good news for Dan High because it gives him the chance to work right back in the field, maybe get the points in here, particularly with Max Spooner spinning. And 3rd place in the championship is now very much back in play. So end of lap 2, Steve Burton suddenly finds himself with a lead of nearly 5 seconds, but it's Ben Bennyworth and Adam Christopher now 2nd and 3rd, and they will be hoping to hunt down the peak behind them. And look who's 4th, Martin Buchan. Very quiet, industrious couple of laps, but he's probably profited the maximum from the carnage ahead. We go on board with the Scotsman, 4th place, right behind Adam Christopher, and, well, lots of carnage with the drivers that are normally in the midfield, and the guys setting the pace, Bennyworth, Christopher and Buchan, have managed to pick their way through, and they're now P2, 3 and 4, just over 2 laps in. John Dean Smith at the back of the field with a clear track has managed to do fastest lap at 32.2, gets his head down, tries to work his way back through the field. He's not too far away now from picking off some of the drivers ahead of him after that accident that affected Anthony Burton, Aaron Daly, Guy Osborne and Max Spooner. So with Max Spooner unlikely to score more points here, it does give Dan Hyde an opportunity to take 3rd in the championship. He'd be tied on points with Spooner if he finished 6th. 5th would clinch it. He's in 8th place at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on Dan Hyde's progress there. Because it might, if he does finish P6, it could come down to a countback situation, and we'll have to go and clarify that a little bit later on. Steve Burton's lead understandably being eroded. He lost 4 tenths to Bennyworth in the 1st sector, he lost 5 tenths in the 2nd sector, and he's losing even more. They're going to come to the line now to complete lap 3, and these lap times will kind of demonstrate the scale of the pace that Bennyworth is setting. Steve Burton's going to come up to the line any moment now. He does a 32.9, his best lap of the race so far. Bennyworth does a 31.5, fastest lap of the race. It's only about half second slower than pole position. Christopher's done a 31.4, and they are both hunting down. He's bringing Martin Buchan with him. Those 3 guys on the pace. Aidan Carter's with them. He's doing a good job there. You can see him in 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Steve Burton enjoying an early lead, but very much being hunted down as we go on to lap 4. Steve Burton, Bennyworth, Christopher, Buchan, Carter, Feast, Delby, Hyde, Anthony Burton, Daly, Osborne, Spooner, and if I can just see where's John Dean Smith, he's right on the back of Max Spooner now, in 12th place. He's just going through Graham Hill Bend now. There we are on your screen. John Dean Smith. We're certainly hoping to try and catch Guy Osborne, because that's for 5th place in the championship. They came in tied on points going into this race, so there is still something for John Dean Smith to race for here. Guy Osborne compared to Max Spooner is just over 3 seconds up the road. Spooner on the grass as they come down the straight onto the GP loop, and they come up to down Pilgrim's Drop. JDS is on the outside. It may only be a battle for 12, but it is quite an important one. Can he get it done all the way around the outside? He can. Superb move around the outside of Hawthorne from John Dean Smith, and now he can go and hunt down Guy Osborne. It may only be for 11th in the race, but it is 5th place in the championship that's at play. Back to your leaders. See the lap times this time round. Steve Burton's lead is down to less than 2 seconds now. Bennyworth chasing him down. Christopher and Buchan, 3rd and 4th. And Christopher taking a surprising line there, almost leaving the door open for Martin Buchan. Will Buchan try and dive up the inside? He will surely. And he goes through. Maybe Adam Christopher just didn't get enough traction out of clearways, but he's gone through. He's only just ahead of Aidan Carter now. And there's big slide into Paddock Hill Bend, as we used to sing from Ed Feast in 6th place. Delby, Hyde, Anthony Burton there, all behind him. You can see Daly and Osborne in the background. Dan Hyde, you may not be aware of it, but if he can get past these 2 cars in front of him, then he'll be in a countback situation with Max Spooner for 3rd in the final standings. But still a long way to go. It's a 13-lap race. We're on lap 5. Dan Hyde's running for Anthony Burton. Anthony Burton's going for a twofer. He's got one. He's got past Dan Hyde. He tried to get Pierre Delby as well at the same time. Couldn't quite get it done. I think Dan Hyde maybe... No, he had to slot in behind. Great move for Anthony Burton. Went for 2. I think he'll be happy with 1. And he pushes Dan Hyde back down to P9. I think we need to go back and have a look at the leaders, because Ben Bennyworth is right behind Steve Burton now. There's only half a second between them. We may well see a change of the lead very, very shortly. There is Steve Burton coming through Sterling's, and now Ben Bennyworth is all over the back of him. Martin Buck and Adam Christopher there keeping a watching brief in third and fourth. They're less than 2 seconds behind through clearways. Burton struggling for drive. Bennyworth's got a good run. I think he might have a dive up the inside of Paddock as they come to complete lap 5 out of 13 of this final race of the season. Will he go for it? Will he wait for Druids? Doesn't decide to go for it now. Maybe just waiting for Steve Burton to make the mistake. Both of them take a huge amount of curve. Bennyworth's got much better drive. Puts 2 wheels on the gravel and he might be able to get it done taking the outside line. Yes, he does. On to lap 6 and Ben Bennyworth had to settle for runner-up in the championship, but he is now leading this race and he'll want to try and make his escape before Martin Buchan and Adam Christopher and Eden Carter are able to have a go at Steve Burton himself. Lap 6 and Ben Bennyworth takes the lead. Only 2.1 seconds in the top 5. Anthony Burton make a bit of a mistake there and he's lost some places. Delby's through. Osborne's going to spin, trying to get round on the inside of there, and Daly, he's dropped back, and that will put him into the clutches of John Dean Smith, I think. Yes, it will. Dan Hyde, I think, has dropped back as well. There's been an incident there, unfortunately, we've not been able to see. And we've got Dan Hyde, Guy Osborne and John Dean Smith now 10th, 11th and 12th. John Dean Smith aiming to pull off the overtake that will provisionally put him into 5th place in the championship. Him and Osborne, as I said, tied on points coming into this finale. So, Bennyworth, Burton's got Buchan and Christopher all over the back of him. Then we look at them now as they come through Stirlings. Aidan Carter, a newcomer to the championship, having a great run. Very sort of trouble-free run to 3rd place in race 1. And potentially on for another good result here. Burton going very wide. Buchan almost runs up the back of him. Such was Steve Burton's loss of traction. Buchan's going to go through. Christopher's going to go through as well. Christopher might fancy his chances. They're going to go 3 wide into Paddock. This doesn't normally end very well, but Buchan gets the move done. Adam Christopher gets through as well, and now they will try and chase down Ben Bennyworth, who's currently 1.6 seconds up the road. Aidan Carter has managed to get past Steve Burton as well. Big look up the inside of Adam Christopher. Did he spin Buchan around? He pushed him wide at least. Very much a push for pass, and wondering if he's going to give that back. He is going to give it back. Good sporting driving, but it's called a bit of a cork in the bottle, giving Steve Burton a chance to get back of Aidan Carter, and they're going to be side by side for 4. That's a direct result of a very sporting gesture by Adam Christopher to give the place back to Martin Buchan, and Steve Burton is able to go back into 4th place, at least for the time being. It was a big lunge up the inside of Adam Christopher. I did wonder if he might have spun Martin Buchan all the way round. He wasn't quite able to do it. And just one of those things that Aidan Carter, I should say, has lost out. There's a big cork in the bottle situation going on in the midfield with Feet, Delby, Daly, Burton, Hyde, Osborne, Dean Smith. They're all pretty much nose to tail. We'll keep them up to date with that. Here they are. There's Pierre Delby in the orange car. So that's Daly, Burton and Hyde behind him. Big dive up the inside of Marin Daly. I think he's just forced Delby wide. And here comes Anthony Burton. They're going to go onto the grass. Not Pierre Delby's going to have to cede all 3 places, unfortunately. Daly, Burton and Hyde all make their way through. Unfortunately, Pierre Delby's been shuffled all the way back to 10th. Here's your battle for 5th in the championship. Osborne and Dean Smith. Yellow leads yellow and blue. Coming around to complete lap 8, the leader's already on to lap 9. Ben Bennyworth extended his lead over Martin Buchan to 3 seconds, probably as a result of that bump that he had with Adam Christopher. John Dean Smith going to the outside. Osborne has to go defensive. John Dean Smith trying to get the late apex cut to the inside, trying the inside of Druid, and I think that's exactly what he's going to be able to do. There's not too much Guy Osborne can do about that one. He tries to turn in, there's a car there, there's not much he can do about it. John Dean Smith up into 11th place, and more importantly, provisionally, is now going to get a championship top 5, a very good achievement in the Napa racing car, given that he missed both of the first 2 rounds. So it's Bennyworth, Buchan, Christopher, Carter, Steve Burton, Feast, Daly, Anthony Burton, Hyde and Delby. There is Dan Hyde in the white and red car, and he'll be tied on points with Max Spooner if he can get past all 3 of them. He's going to have a go trying to get one of them, but Anthony Burton's been driving very, very well so far this weekend. He's gone wide there, we'll get the chance now, should get it done into Westfield. Set in a very defensive line though. Burton should be able to come back at him. They're going to be side by side. Burton comes straight back into Dingle Dell. Hyde just not being able to turn in and get the corner speed on the position. Now they're both going wide, all over the place. It's down line. Oh, Pierre Delby's going to go off. Pierre Delby had the chance. He's going to rejoin, but Dean Smith and Osborne are both able to get through themselves. This is the kind of race 2 we like. Oh, we get a touring car race 3 like this later on. It'll be absolutely superb. I think we need to look at Buchan and Christopher, because I think Adam Christopher's having a right go. I think they're pretty much side by side. Here they go up the inside of Druids. Much fairer on this time. Can Buchan get the drive over going to Graham here? Bend? I think he might. Great battle between the 2 fastest drivers today. Buchan Oz onto the plate. Great racing. This is for 2nd place. Ben Bennyworth now 3.5 seconds up the road. Another lunge up the inside at Surtees this time. But Buchan should have the better drive. Christopher has to slot in behind. We are on to lap 9 out of 13. Watching brief there for Aidan Carter in P4 in the red and black car. Try and go around the outside. Not many people take over. They might run down to the Burton. Christopher's onto the grass. It's going to allow Aidan Carter to go through. I think if he can get it. Aidan Carter goes up to 3rd. Well, Adam Christopher said he was going to have a go in this one, but Aidan Carter's gone off of the grass, and I think Christopher's going to get the position back. So a stay of execution at least for Martin Buchan. I think he'd be pleased to be able to get a bit of a rest. This is what I see from my last race of the season. Burton, Hyde and Dean Smith here. That's 8th, 9th and 10th. You can see Feast and Daly here. That'd be a great result for Fred Feast in the older P6. Over there and Daly behind him. Who knows what's going to happen. On board with John Dean Smith. Looking at 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th. John Dean Smith is 10th. Through Sterling's. Back down the straight towards Clearways for the 9th time. 4 laps to go at the end of this one. Ben Bennyworth's already crossed the line. He now leads by well over 4 seconds. Ed Fee's very much leading the trolley train here, though, in the midfield. Fees, Daly, Burton, Hyde, Dean Smith, Osborne and Delby not too much further back. Ed Feet's gone wide. Ed Feet's has gone wide at Druids, giving Aaron Day the opportunity. He's going to be on the outside of Graham Hill. Anthony Burt might fancy a shot with an opportunity to move into Graham Hill. Aaron Day gives him just enough room. They're going to be side by side. They might even go 3 wide here. Oh no, they're going to go 3 wide. There's going to be a bit of contact, bit of rubbing. And Anthony Burt, he tried to go for a 2 for earlier. Oh, Hyde and Dean Smith goes off. It was a bit of a cork in the bottle situation, so I think some contact was almost inevitable. And now Guy Osborne's getting involved with Hyde, back behind Ed Feets, and suddenly the pendulum swings back to Osborne in terms of getting the championship top 5. This is the battle for what? 9th place, I think now it is. So Daly is now 6th, Burton 7th, then Feast, there's Osborne in 9th, headed Dan Hyde in 10th, and then Delby, then Spooner and John D. Smith after that off at 13th before to go back to the field. Oh, Hyde has spun! Hyde has spun coming out of Westfield. He's going to drop to the back of the field now. John D. Smith might take avoiding action. Hyde's dropped all the way back to last, and I think that has decided 3rd place in the championship in Max Spooner's favour, even though this, in terms of his season performance, is going to be his lowest scoring round of the whole year. So, 3 laps to go now. These midfielders just coming through. Oh, Feats has gone very wide again. Going to give Osborne the opportunity on the inside. That's allow him to take 8th place. May even allow Pierre Delby to join the fun as well. So I was trying to find a time to just run through once again, run through the standings, but everything changes so quick. Pierre Delby goes very wide into Pat. They can't do it. It's Bennyworth leading by 3.9 seconds from Buchan. Then Christopher Carter, Steve Burton, Daly, Anthony Burton, Osborne, Feast and Delby. We're on lap 11 of 13, the last 3 laps of what has been an exhilarating season of Alpine Cup racing. Delby through on Feast now, up to 9th. Action everywhere you look, and it's more than making up for what was maybe a slightly processional race 1. Obviously, Adam Christopher not want to take any risk with the championship at play, but much more to enjoy in this 14th and final race of the season. Watching Pierre Delby come through Westfield. I think there's a good battle emerging now between Buchan, Christopher and Carter. As we look for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, I think that's where the action is probably going to be for the last few laps. There is Martin Buchan. I think we just switched right. I think just the point Pierre Delby went off, but Such is life when there's so much going on in the race. So Ben Bennyworth looks like he's got the win nailed down. 2 laps to go. He's 3.5 seconds in front. Buchan, Christopher and Carter have had a cracking race. Steve Burton's kind of on his own in 5th. Very much on his own. And here's Aaron Daly ahead of a midfield battle. I'm sure there's been lots of contacts. I'm sure there'll be a few things that the stewards want to look at before the final results are declared. Aaron Daly ahead of Anthony Burton in 6th and 7th. I mean, they're both going to lose out here in terms of, I think Martin Buchan's going to take 7th place in the championship off them. There's only 3 points behind them, but there's only a 1 point difference at the moment. So Anthony Burton, as things stand provisionally, pending anything the stewards have to say, would be able to hold on to what would be 8th place in the championship ahead of Aaron Daly. So a lap and a half to go. This is pretty much your closest battle on track now for 6th place in the race. Here is the recovering Max Spooner and John Dean Smith. They're 11th and 12th. It's very much been a day to forget for Max Spooner. So this will be his drop round, but it looks like it's not going to make any difference. He's still going to secure 3rd place in the final championship standings. Hawthorne, or someone's gone off there. That's Ed Feast has gone off, so there's a chance for another place to be gained there by Spooner and Dean Smith. They do so they go up into 10th and 11th. Spooner's lost a bit of traction going out of Westfield, so now John Dean Smith to go through. 2 places and 2 corners. JDS is back into the top 10. Here's that Daly and Burton battle. The leaders are now already onto their final lap. Bennyworth, Buchan, Christopher still just ahead of Aidan Carter. This is the battle for 6th place. Daly, Burton, just behind them, Guy Osborne. Onto the final lap. Here's the battle for 3rd. Aidan Carter, very impressive guest appearance here. What a shame we didn't get to see more of him at some of the other races. Just behind Martin Buchan, I think we're very happy to be able to pick the way through the chaos to claim a 2nd place. Remember, across in particular, Martin Buchan found it very difficult to get through the field. I think he only finished about 8th in that race to a Croft. Because overtaking was difficult. Maybe there weren't so many incidents to take advantage of. The leaders have managed to work their way through very, very well this time, particularly with so many incidents taking place in the midfield. Down the hill through Dingledale and up to Sheen Curve and Stirling for the final time. It's going to be a win for Ben Bennyworth. The leads come down. I think he's just easing off and not taking any risk. Here he is, and at least he's going to get to celebrate a race win, despite the fact that the championship isn't going away. A flash of the lights as he comes through clear of the final corner. The final round of the Simply Race Alpine Cup for 2022-23 goes to Ben Bennyworth, car number 96. Great win for him. Runner-up in the championship. Martin Buchan finishes in 2nd place, and Adam Crisper just holds off Aidan Carter for 3rd place. I think there's been an incident involving Burton and Daly. Oh, Aaron Daly spun round if there was any contact just towards the back of the field at Sheen Curve. Lots of other drivers have gone through. Aidan Carter finished 4th. Good result for Steve Burton. I think he's just about across the line in 5th place. There he is, taking advantage of Burton's pole. A good result. And there's going to be a battle for 6th place all the way to the line here. Anthony Burton and Guy Osborne. Osborne on the grass. A little bit of bumping that had come up to the line. It's very, very tight. Guy Osborne crosses the line ahead by about 1/100th of a second. There will be a lot for the stewards to chew over with some of the midfield battles there, but he's 6th on the road at the moment, and it should provisionally put the 5th in the championship. Then it's Anthony Burton. Good result. Pierre Delby in 8th place. John D. Smith covered tonight. Then Aaron Daly ends up in 10th place. Then it's Max Spooner, Ed Feast and Dan Hyde, who had to settle for 4th place in the championship behind Max Spooner. Lots for the stewards to chew over, and we'll get some clarification on the results, so keep an eye on simplerace.co.uk to get the final standings. Confirmation that Ben Bennyworth is your race winner, ahead of Martin Buchan and your new champion, Adam Christopher. Thank you very much for joining us for the Alpine finale, and we'll see you very soon for the final round of the Simply Race Touring Car Championship.